a lot of frustration from all levels of leadership here in New York City because migrants just continue to arrive to the city. At this point, 55,000 have passed through to New York City, and at this current moment, around 34,000 are actively in the care of New York, which means housing, food, education services, you name it. And as you mentioned at the top of this report, Stuart, Title 42 just weeks away, and all signs point to more migrants coming here to New York City. I'll send it back to you, Stu.
You got it. Madison Allworth, thank you very much indeed. I'm going to stay on this subject and bring in Morgan Ortagus. Another problem here. What is it? 193 suspected terrorists have crossed our southern border since Biden took office, and now we're going to remove Title 42, so there's going to be a lot more coming in. I mean, this crisis just gets worse, Morgan.
Yeah, when you talk about 193 terrorists, let's put it in context. In the 4 years of the Trump administration, only 11 went through that were on the terror watch list. So obviously a much less number. Let's think back to September 11th. How many hijackers did it take? It only took 19. So you don't need to be wrong on this that many times to pose a significant threat to the homeland and to the American people. So what do we know will happen in 3 weeks if the administration doesn't walk this back? We know, Stu, that the floodgates will open in terms of migrants coming over. And it's not just the migrants. It's also the fentanyl, the drugs, and everything that accompanies it. And what I'm not hearing from this administration is a plan to counter what we know will inevitably happen with this migrant surge. It's not like they're planning to fully staff up and fund ICE and Border Patrol agents and to put other protections in place. If anything, you're seeing the Homeland Security Secretary stonewalling in front of Congress. And I got to tell you, it's starting actually to hurt Biden in polling. When I was looking at some battleground state polls, looking at voters there, about 50% of voters think that Biden and his team are ignoring the border crisis. And I predict, as the mainstream media, the legacy media cannot ignore this story in 3 weeks, once the flood starts happening again, even more and more voters are going to be concerned about this. And the bottom line is there's just no plan, Stu.
Yeah, exactly. There is no plan except to let them stay, let them work and pay them. That's what's happening. One more quickly for you. Treasury Secretary Yellen is warning about our relationship with China. Roll tape, please.
The United States will assert ourselves when our vital interests are at stake, but we do not seek to decouple our economy from China's. A full separation of our economies would be disastrous for both countries. It would be destabilizing for the rest of the world.
Okay, full decoupling would be disastrous. I got it. How much decoupling can we actually do, Morgan?
Well, what's interesting is, you know, the other party in this equation gets a vote in this, too. And if you listen to the rhetoric from Xi Jinping, the leader of the Chinese Communist Party, and if you look at their actions, you know, what they are doing slowly, kicking out more and more foreign private sector entities, you know, the Chinese Communist Party is interested in producing everything at home. They have an actual plan for being self-reliant and for being able to ensure their own supply chains are resilient. And that's something that we have been talking not only about during COVID, but we were talking as far back as 2008 and that financial crisis, whenever we realized that we weren't making things at home again. If anything, if you look at critical minerals and mining, if you look at pharmaceuticals, we still do not have resilient supply chains here in the U.S. It's moved towards that direction, but we should have a serious conversation, serious policy objectives about nearshoring. So that's working with countries, friends and allies around us, and shoring up our own supply chains. But we're still dependent on building so many critical pharmaceuticals and minerals and mining in China. It's unbelievable. And by the way, it's only going on steroids with the president's climate change initiatives. We're actually making ourselves more dependent on the Chinese Communist Party, not less.
You're quite right, Morgan. Thanks very much for being here. I know we'll see you again soon. Thanks very much.